Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special meeting of the Hollis Brookline Cooperative School District. My name is Drew Mason, and I am the district moderator. I call this meeting to order. I ask all who are able to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I invite all veterans and all serving members of our armed forces to stand and be recognized. We thank you for your service. School Board Chair Holly Durlow-Babcock will introduce the members of the school board.
Thank you, Drew. Thank you all for being here. I'm Holly Durlow-Babcock, the chair. Tom Solon is our vice chair. Krista Whalen, Kate Stoll, and Liz Brown are joining us as members of the school board, and we are missing Beth Williams and Cindy Van Conen, who are excused tonight. Thank you.
I invite SAU Superintendent Andy Corey to introduce the members of the SAU administration and school staff.
It's my pleasure to introduce Gina Bergskog, Assistant Superintendent, and to recognize Tim Gerzone and Patrick West, Principal of the high school and middle school, who are unable to be here tonight. Thank you.
Helping us tonight are District Clerk Diane Levitt and District Counsel James O'Shaughnessy. In the back of the room are the supervisors of the checklist and ballot clerks, and also the assistant moderators. If we have need for additional counters, then I will ask. The fire department would like to remind everyone that this room has 4 emergency exits. The 2 sets of doors up front and the 2 sets in the back. People are asked to keep the exits clear in case of emergency. This meeting is being broadcast live stream on the SAU41.org website. Unfortunately, due to technical difficulties, it's not available on the cable channels. The subjects for this meeting are text changes to the co-op Articles of Agreement. It may be difficult to follow just from the slides on the screen. If you want to see the exact changes, you can find the full text of the warrant and copies of the presentation on the top page of the SAU 41 website. There's also copies of the warrant posted on the back wall of the room. We are here tonight to discuss and decide on the subjects raised on the warrant by the school board. To do that effectively, we need rules. Rules must be set for each meeting so folks understand how to get things done. The proposed rules are posted in the back and are also available in the town reports. If you don't have a copy, you can find them on your town's website. These are pretty much the rules that we've been using for the past several meetings, but I want to highlight some rules and clarifications. If you have already spoken to a motion, but an amendment is proposed, you may speak again without waiting. If possible, be brief. Be courteous and discuss issues, not personalities. Time is limited to 2 minutes. Amendment sponsors will be allowed 5 minutes. When your time is getting short, I will give you a signal, and when you're out of time, I'll give you a second signal. It is possible to disagree without being disagreeable. Disruptive behavior or personal attacks are out of line, out of bounds, and out of order. To clarify, speaking without being recognized or failing to stop when your time has run out is disruptive behavior. The purpose of a point of order is to bring attention that the established meeting rules are not being followed, or to appeal a ruling of the moderator. It cannot be used to preempt another speaker, ask a question, nor to make a motion. After listening to voter input, I am proposing a slightly different method of ending debate. The motion can be made from the floor without standing in line, but only when no one else is speaking. If the motion passes, everyone already in line will have the opportunity to speak. It can only be made after sufficient debate, which is a judgment call by the moderator. Many of the meeting rules are governed by state law. In the printed rules, I have indicated which laws may apply. Any ruling that is not governed by state law can be appealed to the voters. To do so, raise a point of order or a challenge. So with that brief summary, will the school district vote to adopt the rules for this meeting as proposed by the moderator? Is there a second? Second by Mr. Solon. Is there any discussion of the rules? Seeing none, all in favor of the rules as proposed, please raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed? And the ayes have it. There are two articles on the warrant, and it's a little confusing because the warrant articles are numbered differently from the articles of agreement articles. So the warrant articles in the warrant are prefaced with a 0. So we have Articles 01 and Articles 02, and we have Articles of Agreement 1, 2, 4, 10, 13, and I think 8. It may be difficult to keep them straight. The first article is editorial and non-substantive changes to the Articles of Agreement. The second article is a bit more substantive with changes to the agreement. I've had a number of questions over the last day or two about, well, is this stuff amendable? It is amendable, but only in very limited ways. The proposed changes can be amended, but that doesn't open up all of the Articles of Agreement for general amendment or the articles that aren't even mentioned. So Article 01, to see if the school district will vote to amend the Articles of Agreement of the Hollis Brookline Cooperative School District as follows. Now in the slide, I have summarized the changes, and when we get to Mr. Solon's presentation, he'll go through the exact text. Change the words junior high school to middle school, re-index the years for terms of school board members, preserving the current rotation, re-index the year for reapportionment of school board members from 2005 to 2023. I want to stress that this article involves no appropriations and no tax impact. Moved by Mr. Solon, seconded by Ms. Durlow-Babcock. Mr. Solon.
Good evening. Thank you for coming out on this eventful occasion. I appreciate you taking the time. I also want to thank the people who were at our hearing last month, provided some valuable input to what we're going to discuss tonight. The reason for this meeting is to address some proposed amendments to the Articles of Agreement that were brought about because during the last year and a half, 2019, early 2020, there was a complete review done of the Articles of Agreement to make sure that all of the cumulative amendments that have taken place over the years were accurately reflected in the documents that were being put forth and posted on the website and things of that nature. And I in particular want to give credit to our clerk, Diane Levitt, and to our attorney, James O'Shaughnessy, for that task and bringing forth a complete set of documents for us so we could understand it. In doing so, we identified some areas on the document that were not 100% accurate. And our goal tonight is to correct those areas so that the document reflects the current state of the co-op. It is not intended to make any changes to the way we operate. It does not have any impact on budget or apportionment of expenses between the towns or change the scope of operation of the district. And it doesn't impact the dates of the co-op formation. It doesn't impact the timelines. You'll understand a little bit more of this when I show the particular changes. The question is, why now? Why are we doing this now? We had originally looked at the possibility of having these proposed amendments during our last district meeting in April, but the majority of the board felt that because there was a fairly extensive petition warrant article to change the Articles of Agreement, they didn't want to add another article on the same subject matter that was very different, that might lead to confusion, especially where there are people who sometimes have read it and they know how they want to vote. They come forward and vote because it's the vote on the Articles of Agreement. We didn't want to present that level of confusion. So the board decided to wait and have a special meeting, which is the only other time that we're allowed to do this, special meeting like tonight, and to wait until school was back in session, people were back in town, to have that. Thus, we're doing it tonight. I apologize for inconvenience it causes, but that's the logic behind it. Going to the first change, it's very simple. Striking the word junior, as in junior high school, and substituting the word middle. There are some subtle differences, but we do call it the Hollis Brookline Middle School. There are some connotations behind that phrasing to educators, and we wanted to just have an accurate name in the Articles of Agreement that reflects what we call our schools. Next slide, please. And here you'll see the changes of the dates. The rotation for apportionment of school board members is dictated in the Articles of Agreement. It's every 3 years it's possible. Whenever, and along with that is the sequence for voting. Now, in Brookline, we have 3 members, so there's a new member every year. But in Hollis, there are 4 members, so 1 year out of the 3-year sequence, there are 2 members elected. And every time we have to go back and look and see, is this a 1 year or a one person year or a 2-person year? The goal here was simply to make the math easier, to use a more current date so that when someone's looking at it, it'll be easier for them to figure out whether we're in a 1-person or a 2-person year for the voting period. Going to the next slide. And then this simply does the same thing to the 3-year sequence for voting or for proposing changes to the membership of the school board. As part of the Articles of Agreement, the membership of the school board is made up proportional to the town, the number of voters. There's a formula and things for it, but it can only be proposed at a certain sequence, and again, you have to calculate, are we coming up to a year when that vote can take place? So these changes, again, are considered non-substantive. They don't do anything other than effectively correct typos. I don't know if that's the right word, but we call them housekeeping, so that the text is easier to read and better understand. that is it for the first article.
Thank you, Tom. It's a little unfortunate that the state law here uses the term reapportionment because it's talking about the rotation of members of the school board, and it has nothing to do with the reapportionment formula that is available for modification every 5 years that has to do with taxes. So just keep that clear. Is there any discussion of this amendment? Ms. McGee.
Mr. Moderator, I just wanted to, it's a little nit, but on Article 1, where you removed junior and created middle, then it says senior high school district, but I think the senior modified the junior, so I would like to recommend that we strike senior and just have middle and high school district.
That's a motion for an amendment. Is there a second? Second back there, Ms. McDonald. Is there discussion of the amendment? Our lawyer has no problem with that. So seeing no discussion, all in favor of the amendment, please raise your cards. Thank you. All opposed, please raise your cards, and the ayes have it. So we have stricken the word senior, and so it reads cooperative middle and high school district. Is there any further discussion of this article? Seeing none, if you are in favor of the article as amended, please raise your cards. Thank you. If you're opposed, please raise your cards. And the ayes have it. This amendment is adopted. Article 02, these are a little bit more substantive, but still fairly minor. To see if the school district will vote to amend the Articles of Agreement of the Hollis Brookline Cooperative School District as follows. Delete Articles 4, 8, and 13 with no change to the article numbers, and to add the phrase as required by RSA to Article 10 covering transportation requirements. Again, there are no appropriations and no tax impact on this article. Mr. Solon. Moved by Mr. Solon, seconded by Ms. Durlow-Babcock. Presentation by Mr. Solon.
Thank you. The first deletion is Article 4. Article 4 refers to the leasing of the White Building, commonly known as the Farley Building. That is a facility, for those not familiar, that's directly in front of the middle school. It was, for a period of time, used as a part of the co-op. It currently is not. It is not suitable for use in its current state, and the co-op doesn't own it, doesn't have any intentions, as far as we know, of using it in the future. And because that building is in some discussions within the community of Hollis for disposition, we want to remove that from the Articles of Agreement so that any decisions made regarding that building, there's no reference to it in this document that could complicate things of that nature. The second deletion is Article 8, which talks about trust funds from pre-existing school districts. That was in Hollis or Brookline prior to the formation of the co-op. There were no trust funds that were brought forward, and there's no need to continue to reference those funds because they didn't and do not exist. Next, please. Article 10, we are looking, this is an article that talks about the requirement to provide transportation for students, and we're simply looking to add the words as required by RSA to recognize the fact that there are state regulations, that it is not totally under our own jurisdiction, that the state laws do impact any decisions that we make regarding the provision of transportation. And Article 13 talks about a minimum of 2 joint meetings with the Hollis and Brookline school boards for the purpose of discussing issues of mutual interest. We are seeking to take this out because by our reading, this would be 2 additional meetings beyond what we already hold. I wasn't there when this was originally written, but our suspicion is that there was not a complete understanding of all of the other meetings that will occur, including in particular the SAU governing board meetings, which include members of all 3 district school boards. The 2 elementary districts and the co-op meet a minimum of 4 times per year by law to discuss many of these items of mutual interest. And a good point was made at our hearing, which is what are these things of mutual interest? And they include things such as transportation. We do have a bus contract that spans all 3 districts. We choose our administrators in the SAU office, the superintendent, and we talk about the SAU level administration, which overarches all 3 districts. Those are the kind of things that are done in the SAU governing board meetings. And in addition, there is a lot of activity within the SAU itself that covers these areas, again, of mutual interest, particularly from an educational standpoint, curriculum coordination among the districts, as well as the distribution of services that are shared. So the mutual interest activities are being covered, and they are being covered jointly through the SAU governing board meetings, the shared administration, and meetings of the board chairs that occur on a regular basis. What we're not looking to do is recognize, now that we understand that this text exists, we're not looking to have 2 more meetings to add to the equation. So that is the reason we are proposing deleting Article 13. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any discussion of Article 02? Seeing none, if you are in favor of adopting Article 02, please raise your cards. Thank you. If you are opposed, please raise your cards. And the ayes have it. Seeing as we have dealt with everything on the warrant, I would request a motion to dissolve the meeting. So moved by Ms. Durlow-Babcock, seconded by Mr. Solon. If you are ready to adjourn, please raise your cards. Thank you. If you're opposed, raise your cards. This meeting is dissolved.